Hi everyone, it's Charlie Cater from ESTNN, and today I'm pleased to be joined by Miles Ross, a Call of Duty League caster. Thank you for having me today, man.
Thank you so much, Charlie. I'm looking forward to a good chit chat.
So, first of all, I wanted to get into just sort of how you got into the position you are. How did you get into gaming and then commentary and then Call of Duty?
Gaming was an easy one. I've always sort of been surrounded by games in one way or another. My dad and his brothers and friends and family, we all played like Super Nintendo when I was a little boy. I remember watching them play Street Fighter and Mario Brothers when I was tiny, and it didn't take much time for me to sort of watch them learn how they played, jump on and smack them, basically, for lack of a better word. But we had, pretty much games have always been a part of my life. Um, Always loved competitive games, sports as well. But there's something about gaming. It was something about the sort of more mental side of it. I've always preferred that. I found that really interesting, and that really got me going. So games in that regard have always just been brilliant. As far as sort of serious competitive games, started back in the early 2000s playing Halo, playing Halo 2, did that semi-professionally. Halo 3, played that professionally, managed to get some wins in there, represented Great Britain at the World Cyber Games. We didn't make it out of group, sadly, but the Canadians who beat us in our final match, they did go on and win the whole thing, and it's probably for the best that we didn't win that tournament, because what would you do at 21 with 30,000 euros? Nothing good. So yeah, that was a big deal, and one thing led to another. My career came to an end, and I moved immediately into the commentary role, which was at first just a bit of fun, a nice way to stay in touch with the community, and still get to go and see my mates and travel the country and enjoy myself. And it evolved from there, but nothing ever serious, nothing ever crazy. And then lo and behold, through a crazy sort of strange twist of fate, I was invited to come to the opening tournament of the Master Chief Collection way back when. And that was my sort of big debut back into professional commentary. I was told to bring a suit, get on a flight, fly from Australia, where I was living at the time, back to London. And yeah, it was wild. It was really crazy. After that, the phone just sort of kept ringing. I couldn't stop finding odds and ends, different pieces of work, mostly based out of Australia, until eventually I managed to get the gig for the Halo World Championship, which was a dream of mine as a former Halo player. And the second that job finished, I was in Hollywood, California, and I was poached literally then and there by Activision, who were like, "We'll have you. You're good." And I promised them, I said, "I know nothing about your game, nothing about your players, your fans, any of that." And they were like, "We don't care. You can learn all that, but we like what you've got, and we'd love you to get involved." So that is a very condensed and sort of bullet point version of how I sort of got here. And yeah, one thing led to another: visas, contracts, all sorts of weird stuff, moving across the country, moving across the planet a few times. And yeah, now I'm stuck in LA, commentating Call of Duty.
Yeah, and as you mentioned there, living in Australia, tell me a bit about that because obviously you were in England, moved to Australia, now you're living in LA. How did all of that happen?
So I met my now wife at a university. I went to the University of East Anglia. I did was supposed to be creative writing history. In the end, I was only history in the end, which I loved. I deeply love history. I'm a huge military history enthusiast. Big fan of that. I met my wife there. She was on exchange from Australia doing, I think it was English literature at the time. And one thing led to another, and now I'm married. But she basically pulled me across the country, or across the world rather, to Australia. As soon as my degree had finished, I graduated, and she said, "Come on out." And I packed up everything. No more gaming. Didn't bring a console. Barely brought a laptop. It was a complete disconnect from everything in my life. It was a terrifying thing to do, but love finds a way. I took a suitcase, a backpack, all my belongings, and I had a guitar with me, an acoustic guitar. That's all I had. Everything to my name. Convinced my parents this was okay. Obviously, they were all right with it. A lot of my family members were like, "You barely know her. What are you doing?" And in the end, it was obviously a good call. Still is. She can't hear this, but it was a big leap, and I completely disconnected from the gaming world there, which was a difficult thing to do because it was a huge part of my life. And I sort of tried to fill that void in a few different ways when I was out in Australia, which is a gorgeous country full of wonderful people, amazing experience. But it didn't quite itch the same way. It was something missing clearly. And I remember I worked in corporate IT for an insurance company for about 7 years, which I really enjoyed. It was an amazing experience. Again, a lot to be learned from that. And I was moonlighting at the same time as a comedian. I was doing a lot of stand-up comedy. I was doing improv comedy, having a really lovely time out there, trying to sort of get back into the family business in a weird way. And through all of that, and again around this sort of same time, I developed a decent set of skills. I wasn't a particularly adept stand-up comedian, but improv I was really enjoying and starting to sort of find my groove there. That's when gaming came back in. So I sort of re-entered the gaming space with this, quite sharp honed, comedic style and presence on camera and whatnot. So that really, really helped give me a tremendous leg up over most of the competition who were all either sort of gamers or folks who just sort of thought they'd be good at this. So I came in with a certain professional polish, which I think really, really helped. Yeah, it was very handy indeed.
Yeah, when you entered the Call of Duty space, this was before the Call of Duty League, before franchising, everything like that. What were your initial thoughts on the move to franchising, and how do you think it's differed from when you first started commentating to nowadays?
Honestly, the scale and the excitement around the game and the community and the sport itself is still very, very much there, which is really cool. My first event was the 2016 World Championships for Black Ops 3, which was held at the Forum in Los Angeles. And I knew this was something special when we were walking down this great big long corridor and across all the entire wall there is it's written all the different artists and performers and everyone who's been in the venue. It was like Blink-182, Queen, the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, Call of Duty, and I was like, wow, we've done something right here if I'm alongside those names, even in a very small capacity. And then when we got to our dressing room, I asked the security guys, like, hey, who was in here last? And he said, oh, it was the Rolling Stones. I was like, wow, all right, well, this is a big deal now. Same sort of thing when we came into franchising. There was the same sort of excitement, a lot of money getting thrown around at the start, and it was crazy. I think one thing I was worried about was, and I think a lot of the fans were worried about, was you've changed the model in such a strong way that it used to be so open. Anyone could come in and sort of find their way to the top. Now it's a bit of gatekeeping, I think, when it comes to sort of the professional league. I think there is tremendous strengths there. I think the franchise model really works on a local basis. When we walked into that Minnesota arena, the Armory, we walked into that venue. We had no idea what was going to happen. We had no idea that the crowd was going to love the Minnesota team. The local folks got behind the team in a way we'd never seen before. The 5 players on stage at the time, none of them were particularly famous or had fantastic followings, but it didn't matter. The whole stadium was around that squad because it was their team. And I think there was something really special about that. And that was the first, I've got goosebumps thinking about it. That was the first indicator that I thought, you know what, this is going to work. This localized market thing is going to work. Even though Call of Duty's got an amazingly rich, deep history with players and, all the various organizations involved in it. Some of those still around, some of those aren't. I still think the future is bright because anyone I introduce the league to, they go, right, well, what teams are in it? They go across the nations, they go across now only 2 nations, the US, or 3 actually, USA, Canada, the United Kingdom. They go across those and they're like, well, where's my team? I'll have to be London. A lot of my northern friends are like, can we not get somewhere? Can we get a Newcastle? Can we get, a Liverpool? And I'm like, don't ask me, but that'd be great. It's just nice to see people sort of latch on to, okay, that's my team. I'm from New Jersey. I've got the choice between Boston or New York. I'll go New York, whatever. That's been really exciting for me. So I've seen people who not necessarily follow the old stuff, know the history of the teams and players. They got involved mostly during COVID, and now they're hooked. And that tells me this franchise thing, it can work.
And when you first came in, well, obviously quite a new caster to Call of Duty, but nowadays, sort of in my eyes, yourself and Chance are almost the face of the COD League to me. Whenever I turn it on, it's the biggest game and it's you two casting. You two were kind of almost thrown together randomly, I feel like. Did you think that you two were going to have the chemistry that you seem to have when you're casting games, when you first casted your first game with him?
Yes, I did. We both knew, and we were truly excited that sort of born of a difficult situation, we knew our partnership was going to work. Yeah. My first event in the US, that one at Black Ops 3, the Champs one, the first person I worked alongside was actually Chance, and he was hot off winning the cast off, which was sort of America's Got Talent, Britain's Got Talent sort of competition where you'd pit, there'd be judges and all sorts. He'd won that. And when I met him, I introduced myself to him, and I was very, very honest in the same way I was to my bosses. I was like, I don't know anything. I don't know the name of the maps, the weapons. I barely know what's going on, but I can tell you what's happening in a fun and exciting way. And he was like, just hearing you say that got me excited, so I'm ready to roll because I know everything about this game. And I was like, we're going to work. This is brilliant. It's fire and ice. It's going to work. Firstly, thank you, mate, for saying those very lovely things. we knew that there was going to be chemistry because we're pals outside of the game mostly. We chat to each other nearly every day, whether it's about work or about nonsense. Um, so we definitely have a sort of a level of chemistry there, which helps. But we also complement each other professionally in a lot of ways. I mean, again, the fact that I try to keep a sort of a bigger picture about what's happening in the game, where he can go really granular and tell you what's happening and why something's important. We look at it in sort of two different ways. We're like a band, you know. I'm the lead singer and the lead guitarist. I'm going to be loud. I'm going to be in your face. I'm going to be trying to do solos and make you all excited. He's the rhythm section. He's the drums and he's the bass guitar. And he's making sure that no matter what happens, we're always going in the right direction. I might hit you with this big explosive moment, but when it comes back to him, it is always driving forward. We're always learning something new about the game. We're always thinking about it. He makes you think. I make you feel. I want to give you the goosebumps. He has to tell you why. Not only were those goosebumps great or whatever that moment was, but why that matters in a big picture. So we've got a really nice sort of synergy there, and we've worked on creating a kind of best way to describe this without giving away all the secrets. It's kind of like a song. Every map or every match in Call of Duty is a bit like a song. It's got a couple of verses, it's got a chorus, it might have a refrain. So we try to sort of create a rhythm that we can get in with you, the viewer, because at the end of the day, we're all fans as well. We just want to see what's happening, but we have to sort of, build up the momentum and tension and get this thing going, and then hopefully have a big crescendo. So that kind of thinking between the pair of us has really, really helped. A lot of musical references in there, especially if you listen to the cast. Chance has got a really, really broad and quite eclectic collection of music knowledge in his head. So every now and then when I throw a weird Prince lyric at him, he's got another one to back it up. And it's like, wow, what a beast. Which is great, really, really fun, and a joy to work with Chance. He's the hardest working person I've ever come across. And even now and then I have to sort of go, all right, mate, we don't have to do that, do we? Surely we don't have to worry about these things. And he's just like, well, I've already done it, so here it is. I'm like, okay, I just want to talk about Star Wars. He's a brilliant partner to work with.
I can see the award in the back there. How did it feel?
That?
How did it feel to win that?
It was a really, it was amazing. Honestly, it was an amazing experience. It's quite surreal. I'm very new in this industry, and I will toot my own horn aggressively for the next sort of 2 minutes. I'm really new in the industry. When I saw my name on the ballot alongside some of the brilliant commentators out there, Pansy, Machine, God, Captain Flowers, a lot of people I really look up to in the scene. Not to mention, I think Tasteless was in there, the StarCraft 2 commentators. Amongst many, many others. Uber is in there as well. I'm missing tons here. A lot of those people, brilliant, and I mean truly brilliant commentators. And to see my name alongside that, I was like, oh, this is nice. This is a fun thing to tell my mum. And then when it came to the night and I did win it, it was very surreal and it was wonderfully exciting. And it's a weird thing because an award is not necessarily something you can work towards. You can't compete for an award. You can only do the very best you can. And at the end of the day, it is a panel of experts that go, yeah, no. So I'm immensely grateful for those people for seeing my work that year and going, wow, this guy really killed it and he deserved that. But when I thought everyone else in there essentially did the same thing, so I'm exceptionally grateful. It was mad to sit up there, and I think what I screamed at the top of my lungs and amongst all sorts of other funny things was the award is very much Chance's as well. And I mean that sincerely. Yeah. I don't get to do the job without him. I don't sound any good without him. Without his yin to my yang, there's no balance there, and it's just an idiot shouting about bombs and explosions and flanks. He really helps make that special. So I do owe everything to him in that regard, and the observers and and the whole crew who really make it happen. But yeah, it was a cool feeling, but I was also like, oh, this is just as much yours, mate, because we put so much work in to make this happen. Still massively grateful. And every now and then I just sort of look at it and go, nailed it, get in, good year, let's do it again.
Now, I want to know, what is your favourite event of all time that you've casted? And then alongside that, your favourite match of all time, whether it be just some insane moment happening and you remember pulling off a great cast in that match, or whether it was just to see the sheer gameplay in that match. What was it like?
That is a fantastic question, and one that I've never got the answer to. I think my favourite event of all time, it could well be the first CWL London event, the legendary London event. Down in the Copper Box, where we really did go mad, and we showed the world that British audiences with a lot of European flavour in there. Tons of folks. I saw loads of folks from Germany and France and Spain, all sorts. We really did have a good time, and we put on a mad show that was both disgusting and mad and crazy and warm and heartfelt and very inclusive. It was the full run of everything in that arena, and I think seeing that and being a part of that, and actually got my mum and dad in. I snuck them in the secret security door, getting them to see it because this is the first time they'd ever seen anything this sort of big. Was really, really special to me and really exciting. And it was also an amazing tournament. First time we saw Simp play, so many great moments happened. As far as the sort of the greatest cast or the best sort of feeling, it might have to be the end of the 2021 season. Dallas Empire versus Toronto Ultra. I think it was the lower bracket final. And it was a very, very exciting series in general. Chance and I both put in a huge amount of work to make it as good as it possibly could be. But it was also like a historic showdown between two amazing teams.
Yeah.
And there were some really great finishes in that one. Cammy got like a 4-piece in kitchen on raid. I called it the family bucket instead of a 3, because it was just everyone. Chance was going mad. It had that amazing hard point finish as well on raid again.
Yeah.
Funny that. Good map. Amazing tournament. Really, really amazing moment. And again, the energy in the arena was so special because very first time any of us have ever been back into a space like that since COVID hit. So it was cool to see people. It was cool to see that excitement again. And it was just this sort of really important reminder of why we do the strange job that we have. Is that the people involved, the fans are so passionate and they love this so much. Some of them, potentially even more than the people who work in it, which is hard to believe because it's a lot of time and energy. But that was really special. And I think that one will remain with me for a very, very long time.
And I know you were at the COD Next event hosting that. I know you've been playing the Modern Warfare 2 beta. What are your thoughts so far about Modern Warfare 2, and how excited are you to head into the CDL season?
I'm really excited to get into the season. We've made some big changes to the format. Of course, it starts a lot sooner. It's the first time I think I've ever had to work on my birthday. I'm on the 4th. It starts on the 2nd. Really weird. I don't know what to do with that. I'm excited about the game, not because, it's MW2 and we've all played it, and I liked playing it. And that's something that I'm always a little skeptical because while I am a competitive gamer, I still want to be able to enjoy the game I'm playing on a fun level. If I don't want to have to work and just jump on with my mates from school who I still talk to every day and like, boys, we're playing Invasion, everyone get online now. We do that all the time. And I would love to sort of, what I'm excited about this game most is that it does feel like, yeah, there's a few things we would love to change from a competitive standpoint, but like right out of the box, I liked it and I had fun. And I know a lot of the other talent members did as well. They were really just enjoying running around playing with the new guns. The maps, so they all look good so far. I think the game has tremendous potential in a way that sometimes we say these things at the start of every COD, like, this is going to be the best COD ever. This is really good. This is really good. We are going to find things that are game breaking. We are going to find exploits, find the best weapon, find these cheesy strats that are going to ruin the game for most people. But I think the approach that Infinity Ward have got to the development of this game and to the lifespan of this game, because it's potentially more than 1 year. I don't know if that's actually confirmed. I've spoken to them and they're like, and everyone's just like, it's going to be 2 years, right? We're willing this into existence. The fact that it's going to be out for so long and it's going to be supported for so long, I think is a really, really cool thing. And I'm sort of trying to make it my life's work to help the CDL forge a really positive relationship with Infinity Ward so that if there is something wrong and we as a community see it and go, oh, this is actually really impacting the fun we're having, not just as competitive players, but as gamers in general, we want to be able to help identify those issues. We had a playtest session really, really on in the game, myself and a ton of other pros. I said other pros like I'm one, I'm not. And they were really receptive to our feedback. The things we loved about the game, those things that we thought might impact a sort of a user's experience. And they were really receptive, not in a sort of, they didn't stick their nose up at us like, oh, you pros think you know everything. But no, it was just, we're all gamers and we want to have a good time. And we found some really cool things. We found loads of naughty bugs, awful bugs, which we squashed early on, which is really cool. And yeah, that whole experience has been very nice and really exciting. And it does fill me with a lot of hope and tremendous and genuine excitement for the future of the game and the franchise.
I mean, I knew that they were getting feedback early on when I was at Champs speaking to some of the CDL staff, and they were saying how they'd been playing it that morning at Champs in the venue. Like,
yeah,
they wouldn't let me have a go, but
but it's good. I think it's cool. It's amazing to see now the league. I mean, the fact that we've got skins in the game. You know,
Yeah.
I actually, one of the things looking back at the 2021 season, this is a really weird, nerdy little deep cut. But when we watched the broadcast, you know, the CDL song that goes, "Skirt," I asked them to make a calling card that we could win or we could get as a viewership reward. So when I look back at Cold War and there's the Skirt and there's the Dragons calling card,
Hmm.
I asked for those things to be put in the game, and the team were like, "We can make that happen." We did it, and they did an amazing job with the design. And when I look back at that, I just go, "Man, that's so cool. We did that." Or even the little emblem that says like "free agent." That was one of my suggestions. The team is so receptive, and everyone has such cool ideas. But seeing those little things in the game, being like, "Wow, I've left my mark in a weird way in this game that I've played for nearly my whole life," which is so wonderful. But that seeing that kind of level of integration and commitment from the studio is really exciting, and it's amazing now that like the Call of Duty League and the Call of Duty game, we're becoming closer and closer and closer. We're built in now. They can't get rid of us.
And heading into the 2023 season, we haven't got all the rosters yet. There's been leaks, rumors, but there's still a couple to come
Oh,
out.
yes.
But I want to get your early predictions on who's winning champs this year
Oh,
and
Jesus.
who's going to be the MVP.
I think where we're at already, one of the teams I'm really, really genuinely excited about is the new Minnesota Rocker. I think that team's got legs. I think they've got a really, really high skill ceiling. They've got great brains behind not just the players in game, but also the coaching stuff and other stuff. I think they're going to be a contender for a lot of events. I'm a little worried about Optic. I think there might be trouble in paradise, and I don't know how you fix that one. And if they do fix it, good for them. But I think that sort of trust issues might come into play a little bit, sort of mid-season, and we might see a change again. Who knows? Really excited about that. Who else we got? Toronto's going to be a spicy team. I mean, you've asked me for a champs winner and MVP, but I don't have an answer, so I'm just going to go through all the squads and tell you what I think about them. God only knows is the true answer there, because, and here's something that I've derailed this now, but here's something that happens in Call of Duty, which is really, really difficult, especially for the GMs and the coaches. You have to build a roster for a game that you've never played. You've got to build a roster for a game that no one's really knows how it's going to flow, how the maps are going to go. So we're looking at these teams and going like, oh yeah, bet Toronto Ultra, they're going to be really aggressive, really in your face. The game might not allow for that to be, a viable play style. That might be such a situational thing that team kind of gets cut short every single play. That would be a disaster. So we have implemented a sort of a slight change whereby teams are allowed to make roster moves very early in the season. There's sort of an open window for this to happen, because you get the new game, you try it out. This roster you put all this, fight into doesn't quite work. Next, get them on the other one. We'll see how it goes. But as far as who's the MVP, it will be another cerebral, annoying player. It could be Celium once again. It really could be. He's a special player, a really special player. Everyone's ever got to watch him, talk to him. He sees the game differently. He was really born into the gaming world. And he's going to be the sort of player that drives it ever further. So we will all be learning from someone like him. He's my MVP. Early, bold prediction. Not that bold. He's my guy.
Well, Miles, I appreciate your time today. Thanks for having a chat. And if there's anything else you've got to say to all the CDL fans out there, take it away.
Mate, well, to all the CDL fans, thank you very much for the continued support. I can promise you from the talent side, production side, everything, we're going to be bringing as much noise and love as we possibly can for the MW2 season. It's going to be mad, whether it's 2 years or 10, who knows, but we cannot wait to get it going, and we can't wait to see all your screaming, smiling, mad faces in all those arenas across the country, mostly in the US. Maybe else, who knows? Wait for the updates. Ta-da! Thanks, mate.